In today's rant, we're going to take a look at something that has been annoying me for, I'd say, a good few years in Battlefield, and it's probably something that you guys have an opinion about as well. Yes, here I am again complaining about Battlefield, and more specifically Battlefield 5, but in all honesty, when I did set out to create this channel, I had a few aims in mind, none of which involved constantly criticising the game or the franchise I enjoyed playing on a near daily occurrence. I didn't, however, anticipate things going so poorly for the franchise. You know a Battlefield game is in dire straits when you see the following two things. Firstly, a low player count or low player numbers. With Battlefield 5 we don't have the official numbers, but you can tell from the servers you play on, the people you repeatedly run into and the lack of servers running the slightly less popular modes. On PC at least, BF5 doesn't seem to have that many players actively online. When it comes to my friends, barely any of them play the game anymore. I certainly play far less, or really none at all recently, when it comes to Battlefield 5. Secondly, you know there's a problem when the big YouTubers, such as Jack Frags and Westy, either stop playing the game and stop making regular content on it, or in some cases, start voicing their criticism a little more loudly. To be fair, Westy gets a lot of criticism himself for his so-called shilling or constant praise for the game when it doesn't necessarily deserve it, although I personally think that a lot of that is completely unfair. He might restrain himself from being overly negative in a lot of his content, but he has always been honest about stuff from my experience, and after meeting him in real life I can say that he is an honest guy, and that is reflected in his videos. He does have a slightly higher tolerance for some of the bugs and rubbish that's in Battlefield 5 and previous Battlefield games, certainly more than I do, but you still have to believe the things he says, and his opinion, his recent videos kind of reflect the state of Battlefield. We did see it earlier in Battlefield's life. If we take a look back at Battlefield 1, some of the biggest Battlefield creators like Level Cap and Matimio, X Factor, you remember they used to do the Squad Up series in BF4 with Jack, they kind of moved on and started focusing on different games like Rainbow Six Siege and things like that. It's a shame, but the big Battlefield creators moved on to other things, maybe bigger and better things, some moving to PUBG. We've seen a bit more of that with Battlefield 5, but we've also seen some new creators come through, so I guess there are trade-offs to all of it. Anyway, with that said, this video is going to focus on one of the major features that has to be in the next Battlefield game from release, and 100% has to be worked on and improved from what we have now. I'm of course talking about custom servers and the need for them to exist and work flawlessly on release of the next Battlefield game. This is going to be something that I'll focus on a little bit when I say the start of the next Battlefield game. They can't be something that come in later down the line, maybe a few months in. They have to be there on release. For the sake of this video, let's refer to the next Battlefield game as Battlefield 6. It might not be called that, but let's just call it Battlefield 6. In BF6, we need to have those custom servers from launch. The community is a core part of this franchise, and as we've all seen, DICE do like to listen to the community at times, and we've seen it loads during Battlefield 4 with the CTE and stuff like that, but during Battlefield 5 they really have failed to acknowledge certain complaints. They've failed to support certain creators, especially streamers, if they've struggled with different bits and pieces, and they've really focused on some incorrect targets in my opinion. One off the top of my head, there's a massive cheating problem and they haven't solved it. That's just one of many problems the game's had. Is it because they hate us? No, not at all. The community managers are as honest as they can be. The devs that I've met in real life are all lovely people. It's just a difficult game that's had some problems for whatever reason. There'll be 100 reasons why the things are the way they are. But from the outside looking in, I'd say that a focus on the community like we had in previous games is definitely a must, and that's a corner we're going to have to turn. Remembering back to Battlefield 4, we actually had a community map project where everyone could submit ideas with the final product being Operation Outbreak, a pretty fun jungle map. We had the CTE and other events alongside a really solid rental server program, and that system created endless possibilities for fun in an already amazing sandbox game. I even hosted events such as zombies, and I think we had a couple of almost competitive games, and I was involved in some competitive games, not like on a high level, but where you'd have a skirmish or a scrim and it was pretty fun. So I think we need to have that back. And we have sort of those features in Battlefield 5, but it's not the same thing. So what specific features do we require? It's easy to say we need it, but specifically, you'd be surprised at how many DICE developers actually watch content like this as well. So maybe if somebody with any influence is watching this content right now, pay attention and maybe drop into the comments to see what some of the viewers are saying. I can't stress enough how important these servers can be. So let's break down a few things that I do want to see and a few things that I don't want to see, using previous games as an example. So first off, a list of things I want. Customization. I want to be able to change the maps, the modes, the player counts, the factions, limit vehicles, limit loadouts, limit certain weapons, ban cheaters, host competitive matches using a proper spectator cam, have a streamer mode, promote moderators that can deal with people so I don't always have to be online, and maybe even alter modes a little bit myself. For example, change the ticket sizes, the game length, and things like that. Now, full customization is essential. The reason for this, take a look back at Battlefield 3 and 4. Look at how many 3,200 ticket Goldwood Railway servers you have. It might not be a cup of tea, but thousands of people play it. The same for 3,000 ticket Metro. I find it pretty hateful, but loads of players sit there all day enduring the meat grinder. I draw the limit at flag running servers, but hey, if that's what people want to play, then that's what needs to be available. You need to be able to choose to do that. That freedom to create something unique and fun made Battlefield a brilliant experience with something new to play every time you logged in. When I was done with Conquest in Battlefield 4 for a bit, I went and played 2v2 in the attack helicopter, or air superiority. When I was done with that, I started joining empty servers and making some different sort of video content. When I was done with that, I started going and playing Rush, or maybe some more Conquest, or I'd check out Domination for a bit. There's so much you could do. And I even had my own server for a while, which was really fun. I guess that focus does have to be on the customization. We really have very limited customization in Battlefield 5 when it comes to servers, alongside the fact that they just don't really work. And then in Battlefield 1, yes, there was more customization available, but not enough. It was too limiting, and it would really prevent you from creating a better experience than what the developers had come up with, because sometimes that's what it takes. It's not modding, but it's almost down that road. You let the community develop the game somehow. Maybe they come up with a better idea that you then implement into the next game, or a DLC, or an update, or something like that. I also feel like the servers need to be run to a certain standard, and what I mean by this, in Battlefield 4 for example, some servers from certain server providers are appalling. They lag, they're just awful. People pay money for that. It's not really under DICE's supervision or EA's, it's not their responsibility, and there needs to be a bit more continuity with that. With Battlefield 1, DICE had the servers, or EA had the servers, and whilst they're not perfect, they always go offline and things, it's nice to have them all in one place, so that's something we'll probably see. The price point for this sort of stuff, I don't know, that's not something I can really comment on, but having them free for private games, maybe limited to an 8v8 for your competitive, in inverted commas, modes, scrims, things like that, that would be fine if it's free. For your big 64 player servers, paying for that, I don't have a problem with it as long as I have complete customization over that server. Paying for something like that is completely fine in my opinion. You've got a community of 100 people, everyone's paying a very small amount. It's what we've done in previous Battlefield games, and that's completely fine. Things I do not want to see. Firstly, bugs. A buggy system that isn't monitored and can be abused. Now, bugs can be something like in Battlefield 5, a lot of people can't join custom servers, which is really no good at all. It can also be, though, the thing we had in BF4. Some people were modding servers in Battlefield 4 and abusing certain things, and they've been doing that more recently. I'm not pointing any fingers, there's nobody I know personally that does it, but people are modifying servers. An example can be seen in the background where some members of my Discord were in this server and this was happening to them. They were being transported to a room on Operation Locker away from everything else, then all the enemy players were being transported in and then they were just killing them. Whether it's cheating, whatever it is, modifying text files, I'm not really too sure, but this sort of stuff can't really happen in Battlefield. That's a step too far when it comes to that customization. You're ruining the experience for many people. Complete admin control as well is something you have to be very careful with. it's almost a contradiction, but having server admins, or as they're better known as badmins, run riot over servers, kicking people for getting a 5-kill streak, or even worse, those admins that ban people for killing them, is quite cancerous. It cannot be allowed, and it did spread through Battlefield 4 really badly. This is one thing that I really don't have an answer for. How can you give admins control to ban cheaters and balance servers, but then limit their power to ban players who haven't done anything wrong? I guess you could have a point system where admins can be reported to an active moderation team, almost like you have on forums, and their servers get suspended if they have too many points against them, but then again that could be abused. So it's very, very difficult. It's an easy thing to maybe discuss, but then in practice it would have to go through several iterations of testing. It's very difficult to comment on, really. Maybe DICE could offer private servers to anyone for events for free, as I said before, for your little events, but the private servers for the big 64-player servers where the public would join would require certain targets to be met. For example, they'd be given to big communities, and the admins would have to be, proven players on Battlefield, as in they'd have to have a certain amount of hours, or there must be some sort of criteria that would be fulfilled. I'm not sure how they'd go about it, but we can't have what we had in BF4. I also want to see a reduction in stream sniping, and in the case of BF4 DDoSing, it did plague BF4 and 1 for ages, and Battlefield 5 has tons and tons of stream sniping, not just people watching streams, but cheaters watching streams. With the DDoSing, it was more of an issue in BF4. People gained access to the server information through Battlelog, overwhelmed the server, causing massive performance issues and eventually a crash. DICE didn't do anything to fix this, or at least they appeared not to do anything. Streamers pretty much gave up on the game after a year or so and just started creating video content instead, even though the game was really good, which is a massive shame, and cheaters have been running riot in Battlefield games for years since then, but it's the worst it's ever been right now. Battlefield 5 is a disaster zone, with certain streamers getting stream sniped by cheaters on a regular occurrence, and the cheaters don't get banned. This cannot be a thing, and if it was a private server with an admin, as I said, they could maybe ban the cheater, people could vote to ban the cheater, and you'd be done with it. So that's something that really does need to come back in. That's my list of things that I want to see in the game when it comes to custom servers and RSP, and then things that I don't want to see in the game when it comes to custom servers. I think that if DICE did this properly, and assuming the game is pretty good, Battlefield 6 or whatever it's called, BF3, BF4, BF1 standard, modern day, then this could be a really good game. We could forget about Battlefield 5 and move on really quickly. If the next game is really good and they don't do RSP, it could still be a great game, don't get me wrong, but people might underestimate how important that community aspect is, especially for the longevity of a game. If they want it to last 2 years, they're either going to have to consistently drop content, like we had in BF4, 4 big DLC packs and then additional maps in that first year, or they're going to have to allow us the freedom to almost create our own content with these custom servers, which for a live service might be something they're willing to do because it leaves less pressure for them. I'm not too sure. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. As I said, some important people might watch this video. They watch a lot of Battlefield content, no matter the views it gets. They are interested in the game and what people have to think, and they do read the comments. I certainly read the comments anyway, so let me know what you think of custom servers in Battlefield. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, feel free to leave a dislike if you didn't, and I'll catch you in the next video.